here to answer your cues. You don't got to worry about if you're going to seem like I'm worried that he's going to think I'm dumb. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Doesn't matter. I know politics can be intimidating to get started in. And before I knew anything about politics, I was always really worried about, seeming dumb. And there were definitely times when I asked people that I knew about politics, and then they did treat me like I was dumb, and I did not care for that one bit. So, you can rest assured that I will not do the same thing to you. No such thing as a dumb question. There's no judgments. There's no debating. You don't got to worry about, if I ask this, he's going to think I'm some sort of MAGA psychopath, or, if I ask this, he's going to think I'm some sort of squishy liberal. There's no judgments here. You can ask whatever you like. And if you're asking in good faith, I will give you the best answer that I can possibly give. I know that it can be a little intimidating sometimes with all the acronyms and the shorthand, but there's no debating, there's no roasting or anything. It is just honest answers to all your cues. $sign says, are you taking guess? The answer is no. Apple user whole bunch of numbers says no one is intimidated. Some people are. I was before I knew about politics. Heart emoji says, as a poli-sci major, thank you. Thank you for being here and for your comment. I appreciate it. So yeah, you can ask me anything that you like. There's no debating. There's no judgments. There's no roasting. You don't got to worry about if I'm going to think you're a squishy liberal or a MAGA psychopath. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Sure, why not? Says, is the United CEO unaliving a pop culture moment, or are we gaining class consciousness? I mean, I think it's a really interesting cultural moment that we are currently living in, because there is such a clear rage that is building in the working class and the poor classes of America. Like, people have been known for a long time that they're getting screwed by all sorts of CEOs, not just health insurance CEOs. But at the same time, people are lost for the kind of collective action that we could do to change things, And you got people like me, who I think I got a pretty clear idea of how to change things. We got to vote for politicians who are going to change things. But for some reason, that message isn't permeating the noodles of most of Americans, Like, most Americans just voted in the party that is trying to make healthcare less accessible. And they just voted out the party that brought down health insurance costs over the past 4 years. They just voted out the party and the president that capped the cost of insulin and capped the cost of asthma inhalers and, reduced prescription drug medications for seniors and made it so that Medicare and Medicaid can negotiate with drug manufacturers, You just voted against the party that gave them the Affordable Care Act, which brought down health insurance premiums, but also made it so that health insurance industries couldn't discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions. So where's the disconnect there? It seems like everybody's on board. Everybody's like, yeah, that CEO got what he deserved. I'm not saying this. That's what other people are saying. I don't condone violence of any kind. But other people are saying, hey, that guy got what he deserved. And I'm like, well, why didn't y'all vote for the party that was going to try to fix the problem without violence, So, yeah, I think it's interesting. I worry about political violence. I worry about all sorts of violence. So I don't condone it even a little bit. But I do think that it is emblematic of a rage that we are all feeling at the unfairness of our capitalistic hellscape that we're currently living in, Let's see here. Too sassy for you too. So ask you anything, yet you biased. I'm not biased. I take a look at the data and I form my opinions based on that data. If I was biased, I wouldn't look at the data. I would just repeat the talking points from whatever party I was biased in favor of, I don't really jive with that argument, I think that there are people who are biased because they have like a financial interest in being biased, but I'm not. I'm just giving you my honest read on the situation. CL6396, do you think Donald Trump and his cabinet will make life better for Americans? No, not unless they're already rich or they're racist. Those are only two categories of people that I am confident will be better off during a Trump administration. Heart emoji says, saying that Republicans are against affordable health care isn't biased. It's in their platform. Yeah, agree with you. Heart emoji. All right, let's see here. Tobacco Pot says Trump or Kamala. Kamala every day of the week. But also, why are you asking me this? The election's over, Like, the game is done. We got to continue, beating this horse to death. Divas Rise, what do you think about the recent CEO situation? I did just kind of dip into that. I don't condone violence of any kind, but I do think that I think that the discourse around it is a net positive, in that people are talking about how much these CEOs are fucking us in the health insurance industry. And I'm hoping that people start connecting the dots and are like, oh, all CEOs are fucking us over in this way. The wealthy are all fucking us over this way. Every billionaire is fucking us over in the same way. And I don't think that we should be doing extra, judicial murders. But I do think that we should be voting for politicians that are going to, make it so that our society is more fair and actually help people. Let's see here. Raina MF Pursley says, did you see Ben's backlash on the video? So satisfying. Yeah, I got some real schadenfreude out of that. Ben Shapiro he's a hack, like he's not truthful at all. He is just towing the party line, and because his, rich daddies don't want there to be this movement against the wealthy that the UHC murder sort of, signifies in this moment, he was told to get out there and make it seem like this was a bad thing that people were doing. And then, everybody railed against him. And I'm like, fucking hell yeah, man. He's full of shit. He deserves all the anger that he gets, I don't love those Jubilee videos where it's like 25, Republicans debate one liberal and vice versa. But I did really enjoy that nobody debated Ben Shapiro. They were just yelling at him, and I was like, God damn, how do I get invited to that thing? I could definitely, I don't know how much I get paid to do that, but I would pay to be in that room and just get to tell him, what a piece of shit he is to his face. All right. So yeah, I don't mind if you have different opinions than me on this live stream, but if you just come on here and just spam the comments with pro MAGA shit, you're going to get blocked. Ed says workers elected Trump. I mean, there were a lot of demographics that helped elect Trump, but I don't really view winning elections as evidence that somebody is pro-worker or not. I know that is something that the right likes to do. They look for the data point that proves their point, and then they use that to say, I wrote a whole book about this called the Kellyanne Conway technique, where she would go on television and somebody would say Trump is a liar, and then she would say, if he lies so much, then why is he winning in the polls? Why did he win the Republican nomination? And it's those two things are not, that is not how you prove whether or not someone is truthful. You know what I mean? Black Cat Comics, I'm guessing you do not support the wall. I don't. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of energy. You would have to steal land from people in Texas in order to build it. It's not going to solve the problem. It's total bullshit. That's the long and short of it. Let's see here. Connor, does Trump support Project 2025? Yeah, I think it's obvious that he does. I also think it was obvious that he did before the election, but for some reason nobody listened to me. And now that the election is over, he's appointing authors of Project 2025 to his cabinet. So it's yeah, I was right. And all these people lied. And all these Republican talking heads are admitting that they lied. They're all coming out on their social media channels and going, tee-hee-hee, you guys fell for it. Project 25 is the plan. Ha ha ha. This is so great. Oh my God, I can't believe you dum-dums. You fell for it, So yeah, I knew that he was lying. I told everybody he was lying. I don't know why nobody believed me. Let's see here. Charles Savaz says, guys, we're one wall away from the American dream. Yeah, if we just one more wall, guys, and then we'll fucking be there, Gob88 over on Twitch. Who's the most radical Trump pick that the House and Senate will approve? I mean, I don't really care to do that kind of predicting. Some of that stuff can be self-fulfilling prophecies. It also, it kind of makes it seem like a cute game as opposed to a thing that's really going to affect people's lives. So I'll answer a different question. Who do I think is the most radical Trump pick so far? And I think that is without a doubt Kash Patel. The man is a psychopath. And so, yeah, I think the Senate needs to do its job and deny his confirmation. Frog, if it requires labor from another human being, is it a human right? Are you talking about abortion? Because yeah, I don't think that. I think that's one of the many legal arguments against restricting abortion, being that you can't force a woman to undergo the labor of carrying a child for 9 months and then giving birth to it, endangering her life and fertility. I think that's what you're asking me about. And it is an argument that I jibe with. But I mean, there are 1,000 reasons why the Dobbs decision, aka getting rid of Roe, aka removing abortion protections for American citizens, was a bad thing. Like, I can argue it 1,000 different ways. But at the end, it doesn't matter because the Supreme Court didn't give a shit. They were like, we don't care. We want to restrict abortion, so we're gonna. That's like the Republican platform, is we want to, so we're gonna. It doesn't, and your arguments mean absolutely fucking nothing to us. Heart emoji. Do you think RFK is going to be forced out of his projected position due to lack of qualification? I honestly think that RFK is probably going to make it through the nomination process. I know I just went back on my whole thing about like predicting shit, but I think that one thing that Republicans are really good at is flooding the zone with extremists so that people like RFK seem like normal. So yeah, I think that. Matt Gaetz and Kash Patel and that other fucking dude that, his mom wrote a letter about how shitty of a person that he was. Like, all of that is, Trump seeing what he can get away with, but it also is going to have the added benefit of making it so that people like RFK Jr. are not as crazy as the other ones, Jaron Wade, how are you so lost? I don't think I'm lost. Dom, what would you say to someone who... doesn't trust the government? I understand it. Like, the government has done a lot under Democratic and Republican administrations to lose our trust. But at the same time, we're dealing with powerful forces, and the government is our best mechanism to protect ourselves against those powerful forces. Like, the reason why your employer can't force you to do things that you don't want to do, can't like force you to do sexual favors on them or fire you or force you to work overtime without extra pay, is because of government regulations and because the unions fought for those regulations. So it's a balancing act of being clear-eyed about what the government is and what they do and who we are appointing to those positions, but at the same time recognizing that they have value. And if you don't trust the government, I would also say, like, the government is made up of the people that we elect. So, there's nothing inherent about the idea of government or democratic governance that means that we can't trust the people in power. It's just that we have done a really bad job of electing people to do the work of governing us. And, that doesn't mean dipping out of the process and being like, I don't trust the government, so fuck all this shit, I'm just going to do my own thing. That means, all right, well, that person betrayed my trust, or that person allowed that government agency to betray my trust, so I am going to make sure that that person never gets elected again, It's I often feel like when people say things like I don't trust the government, that it's just cynicism and, throwing their hands up in the air and saying, like, well, I'm not going to vote, or... both parties are the same or shit like that. And I don't agree with that one tick. I think that there are better people and worse people in government. And I think that we get our lives become better when we vote in better people as opposed to worse people. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. Let's see here. Jaron Wade, do you think the country was not almost taken by the far left arson? They wanted to take free speech. Jaron Wade, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what people talk about when they say that the left is against free speech, when the right wing of this country is banning books and Elon Musk over on X is suspending accounts who are leftists, and Donald Trump is saying that people should go to jail for criticizing the Supreme Court. Like, that's literally censoring free speech. But I don't see where that exists on the left. Like, show me a politician that's doing shit like that. Rick Scott, when he was governor of Florida, was making it illegal to use the word climate change in government documents. Like, that is, censorship. That is anti-freedom of speech. Like, what are we talking about? Jaron Wade, Kamala was most definitely against free speech. Yeah, give me examples. Like, you can't just say that. You know, I'm telling you it doesn't exist. You're saying it does exist. Show me. I'm giving you examples of the right coming after your freedom of speech. Jaron Wade, only books getting banned were sexually books in school. That's not true at all. There are books that had characters that were gay, not doing anything sexual, that were getting banned. There were books by prominent black female authors that were getting banned. You know, for what reason exactly? You know what I mean? So yeah, Kamala literally was saying in an interview, some people need their rights taken away. No, that's all right. You're not here in good faith, Jaron Wade. Because that is not a real thing that happened. I having technical issues here. All right, here we go. Yeah, I know the things that Harris was saying in interviews. You know, Leah Werner, Diaries of Anne Frank banned. Yeah, Leah, another great point. Let's see here, buddy. Can't trust the government. It's just a lack of responsibility and accountability. Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends, in what context you're saying that. Hey, Zigarde, what's going on? How you doing? Pete, will I lose my health care, the Affordable Care Act? So, it just depends on if people are able to put enough political pressure on their Republican representatives to stop them from overturning the Affordable Care Act. You know, the Republican Party wants to do that. Trump wants to do that. And they can because they have the seats in the House and the Senate. And they have the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court's not going to stop them. So, you know, it just all depends on if we have the same sort of groundswell of, people harassing their, elected leaders to not vote for the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, you know? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Republicans aren't going to try. Like, I think they're going to try, but, it just really depends on if people are engaged enough to let their leaders know that there will be political consequences for them repealing the Affordable Care Act. Jeffrey Lee, can you defend the constitutionality of sanctuary cities? Can I defend the constitutionality of sanctuary cities? I mean, I guess it falls under the umbrella of states' rights that the right seems to be so, excited about and all, hype for. What is it about a city or a state that means that you are obligated to turn over immigrants who have overstayed their welcome? Like, I don't understand the value there, especially if the state or the city has a vested interest, economically or otherwise, in those people remaining. Like, how are we going to staff our restaurants? How are we going to staff our farms? Especially in states like California that have a lot of agriculture. When you deport illegal immigrants, you are not able to staff farms, and food just dies on the vine. And that means, farmers take an economic hit, but then also food becomes more expensive. I'm not really an expert in what issues should be up to states and what issues should be, nationalized. But to me, it just seems like there's good policy that should be for every state. But yeah, it also feels like those arguments kind of get into the weeds for the sake of getting into the weeds. Like, if the Supreme Court just wants to do something, it doesn't matter what argument you're going to put in front of them, at least this Supreme Court, Nah says food will become more expensive, but staffing will be okay. I'm not really sure if that's accurate. Nah. Let's see here. Dark Demon Sniper, why you always coming on my For You page, but never on my face? Sorry, Dark Demon Sniper, I apologize. Sorry about that. I don't know if the technology is there yet. Let's see here. Janelle St. Clair says, what do we think Trump will actually get done in office? I mean, it just depends on what, he says a million things that are lies. So it's impossible to say what he is going to try to do versus what he's not going to try to do. I am confident, though, and I'd be willing to put money on this, that the only thing that he is 100% going to do is things that help him and his rich buddies. So he's going to grift, he's going to con, he's going to spend the majority of his time down at Mar-a-Lago. And because he's going to be at Mar-a-Lago, that means Secret Service is going to have to stay at Mar-a-Lago. And that means that he's going to charge the Secret Service like 3 times the regular rate for their rooms, stealing taxpayer money to that go directly into his pocket. He's going to, cut regulations so that corporations are not going to have the financial responsibility to not poison our air and our water, and they're not going to give a shit about making sure that Elon Musk's self-driving cars are safe, and, mortality rates are going to skyrocket in, states where Elon Musk's, cyber trucks are on self-drive and they're going to be mowing over pedestrians, because the regulations have been cut and shit like that. It's going to be Griftapalooza over there. Let's see here. Over on Twitch, Chartabla5 says, what leads you to believe that the elected leaders wish to remove the Affordable Care Act? And in that act, what do the elected representatives object to? So the reason why I think that Republicans want to repeal the Affordable Care Act is because they tried to repeal it dozens and dozens of times. And when Trump was in office, he tried to repeal it because he had the House and the Senate, and it was only through the bravery of a handful of Republicans or the political pressure of their constituents putting on those senators that the attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act failed. Now, why do Republicans want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act? Because it makes healthcare more affordable and it takes money out of the health insurance industry. One of the main provisions in the Affordable Care Act is that health insurance companies are not able to discriminate against people for having pre-existing conditions, which means that if there's somebody who has a condition that requires a lot of medical care, that would be a net loss for an insurance company because that person is going to be filing lots of claims. And so insurance companies created this thing called pre-existing conditions where they could say, we're not going to cover you anymore because you're too expensive to cover. And the Affordable Care Act made it so that health insurance companies can't do that anymore, which means that health insurance companies became a little less profitable. And because the Republican Party is all about protecting businesses and letting them harm consumers and grift as much money and steal as much money out of the American public as they possibly can, they want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I think Trump also wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act because Obama did it, and he hates Obama because Trump is a racist. There's the there's the long and short of it, They also want to get rid of things that help, that help the consumer, like the Consumer Financial Protection Board, and they want to get rid of, there was another agency that I can't remember the name of they got their sights on. Celine, what's your thoughts on Social Security and Medicare? I'm for them. They're great social safety net programs. We need the government to have more programs that take care of people. Republicans want to get rid of those too because they help people. Let's see here. Rigma says, they already said they'd keep the pre-existing conditions clause. You're being dishonest. Well, they lie. They're liars. They also said that Project 2025 wasn't their plan, and now they're admitting that it is, Let's see here. Okay. We got a couple of trolls in here. Looks like the guy who is the emoji that Prince changed his name to says, are you a Democrat? The answer is yes. Christopher Curtin, do you believe that Trump is your daddy now? Nope. Spider-Man 824, a lot of people on here too young to remember the days of pre-existing condition denials. Fun times. Yeah, real fun. Real fun times, Let's see here. Spider-Man 824, can they just remove Social Security and Medicare from just the people that voted for Trump? No, unfortunately they cannot. Olga Ventura, only 20 millions benefits from the Act Care. What about the other 300 millions citizens? I'm not really sure what you're saying there, Olga. Can you clean it up a little bit? Let's see here. Ray Bloomer 78 says, down for single-payer health care. I'm down for single-payer health care too, and it was really just Joe Lieberman who is the reason why we didn't have a single-payer option in the Affordable Care Act. What's up, Laura? Good to see you. Nas says, who would be the entity on control of World Health Care? I mean, there's a bunch of different organizations. I believe that the World Health Organization is instrumental in that. I think the CDC has say in that as well. 37 Signals, will Democratic politicians start condemning the genocide soon? I mean, Democratic politicians are the only ones who are condemning the genocide. Not all of them, not enough in my opinion, but no Republican politicians are. So, I guess my question to you, 37 Signals, is why is it more important to you that Democrats do that than Republicans, where there are a lot of elected Republicans right now, including the president, who don't give a shit about what Israel's doing to Palestine. Are you upset about that as well, or are you just throwing stones at Democrats because it's a very hip thing to do? Mr. Gamer Moments. Hey, still holding that election, L? I mean, we lost. I don't know what you're gloating over. Maybe just, think about the things that you want Trump to do and try to hope that he makes your life better instead of rubbing it in liberals' faces. Like, I don't understand what the value is there. Overstreet Family Crew, can we get that refund checked if they remove Social Security? LOL. I wouldn't hold my breath. That's all money that is in Trump's hands right now, and he's going to do whatever he can to put it in his own pocket. Let's see here. Carmine, what was the Ashley Biden book? I have no idea what you're talking about. Xenacat, we all lost. Yeah. There is no joy in the Republicans' victory. There's only going to be more suffering. So congratulations, everybody who voted for Republicans. Freedom Warrior, we technically have universal health care. It's called Medicaid, and we all pay into it. Yeah, but only people who make under a certain amount of money get Medicaid, and only people who are a certain age get Medicare. And they're great programs. Before I was able to afford regular ass health insurance, I was on Medicaid, and I fucking loved it. And I hate the fact that I'm on regular ass insurance now because now everything's much more expensive. Is there a reason why we can't just have Medicaid for everybody? Because that would be very nice. I think that would be good. Do you believe such a thing as a social Republican exists? Do you mean like somebody who's like socially liberal but fiscally conservative? Like, is that what you mean? Leah Werner, we will be rubbing their faces soon enough. Unfortunately, we will suffer as well. I get it. I'm mad too. And I don't mind if people want to take like a little bit of a victory lap, but there's an expression that I heard from somebody who lived through an authoritarian government, which is no one lets go of anyone's hand. And I believe in practicing that kind of radical empathy. So, I don't mind doing a little I told you soing, but at the end of the day, we are all American citizens, and we become stronger when we realize who the real enemy is. It's not people that vote for Republicans, it's Republican politicians and their billionaire daddies. Joey Carrasco says, what do you think about Syria? I'm really glad that, Assad was overthrown. He was a dictator who, gassed his citizens and threw them in jail and shit like that. He was, a Putin buddy. And I think it's also great that America didn't overthrow him, that the citizens of Syria overthrew him. And, I know that the people who are in charge of Syria now have, connections to quote-unquote terrorist organizations, but, they're saying all the right things right now, that they're going to be a more moderate Islamic state. And, I think that we should give them the space to actually do that, Only one Marie. It's crazy how convicted felon is someone to run the country. Yeah, you would think that would be disqualifying, especially because the crime that he was convicted of, among all the other ones that he has been indicted for but not yet convicted of, was cheating to win an election, and for some reason that was not disqualifying. Gail, everyone that can work shouldn't get benefits. I don't agree with that, Gail. I think everybody deserves benefits. We're all American citizens. Why can't our lives just be a little bit easier, Let's see here. Daniel Rodriguez, I voted for Trump and the backlash I got from it was crazy. Why did you vote for Trump, Daniel Rodriguez? And do you feel like that was the right thing to do? Let's see here. Kama J. Nays says, have Republicans ever done progressive things for this country? I mean, in the history of this country, sure, and Donald Trump signed a prison reform bill that he had nothing to do with besides signing it. And, he didn't have to do that. He could have vetoed it, and he could have pocket vetoed it, but instead he signed it. Now, did he sign it because he thought it was the right thing to do, or did he sign it because Kim Kardashian told him to, and he only does what celebrities and people that he looks up to tell him to do? I think it is emblematic of him being fucking a mush-brained idiot, as opposed to him trying to do something good for the country. But yeah, Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency. Reagan went to bat for immigrants. George W. Bush told people not to hate on Muslims just because of 9/11. There are a lot of things that Republicans have done progressively, but the fact of the matter is their platform is decidedly unprogressive. Their platform is pro-billionaire, pro-giant corporation, anti-worker, anti-poor person, anti-marginalized community. Let's see here. All right. Ignore that person. Okay, I can hold someone's hand and say, I told you so just fine. I think there probably is a sympathetic and empathetic way to say, I told you so. So, yeah, okay, I'm with you there. All right. Liz, radical empathy. This isn't left or right. This is up and down. Okay. Not really sure what you mean by that. Let's see here. Do you think an approach similar to Argentina's president is needed in the U.S. government? I'm actually not 100% sure what you are referring to. I find I key into certain world political events, and then as soon as they are over, they leave my brain, and so I can talk about Syria today. I can talk about Israel, Gaza today. I can talk about Russia, Ukraine today. But there are a lot of things that I've just completely forgotten about. Let's see here. Kix OG Cali said, should we collect our SSI benefits and 401k plan before it gets taken away? I don't know. I can't tell you. It's just, we just got to hope and pray that the worst things don't happen. Let's see here. Larry Thompson 623. Trump's new health plan is called Concept of a Plan with Nothing to Offer. No arguments there. Millie Goose, do you think Trump will step down at some point and hand the reins to Vance? No, 100%. They're going to have to rip the White House out of his cold, dead fingers. I know that he is an old man, but I believe I'm pretty confident that he is not going to try to leave office yet again. I believe that he is going to try to he's going to try to die in office is what I think is going to happen. Hoffman, the border is also being open is a problem, right? Yeah, but the border was never open. Not under Democrats, not under Republicans. Do you think an approach... All right. Told you I don't know anything about that. Adrock, do you feel that Trump and the Republican politicians genuinely care about the American people? Absolutely not. Peak Stymie, do you know that you've been radicalized? I mean, it depends on what you mean by radicalized. All right. I am blocking this person because I don't care for this thing being on my live. Hoffman, is the border open? No. Nonsense. How is spreading division productive and helpful? It's not, which is why I go hard against Republican politicians, because they are the ones that are sowing division. They are the ones telling you that all your problems are being caused by trans people and immigrants. And I'm not out here telling you that Republican voters are evil and bad. I'm telling you that Republican politicians and billionaires are bad. So yeah, I'm a unifying presence. I'm saying we're all poor, we're all working class people, we're all the citizens of this country, and we do not deserve to be conned and bilked out of our hard-earned money the way that billionaires in the Republican Party have been doing for decades. Let's see here. I believe that Trump and his Trumpers are going to be a disaster to America. That is my prediction as well. LZ, I think that's what your name is. The important difference is ultra-rich versus the working class, dividing us by menial arguments. Yeah, completely agree with that. It's a wanderer. Does the U.S. has morality? I mean, the U.S. is its people. And I think that people are very moral, but I believe that there are high-profile bad faith actors who are not moral. I do not believe that you can have $1 billion and be moral. I do not believe that you can be the kind of politician who tries to take healthcare away from people, who doesn't give a shit about infant mortality and maternal mortality going up because of these draconian abortion bans. I don't believe that a politician who is okay with ripping children out of their parents' arms, deporting the parents, and then losing the parents. So now there's 1,000+ children who are orphans now in this country because of that, and that didn't accomplish any fucking problem. I don't believe that those people are moral, and I believe that we as a country need to showcase our morals and vote against all of those people. All right. Nonsense. The difference between the left and right is the groups they exploit for vites. I don't agree with that, and I also don't know what you're talking about. Free to be Cree says, what is the difference between Russian oligarchs and USA billionaires? I mean, the Russian model is what Republicans want. Like, they want more state control of the media. They want more state control of industry, but under the guise of privatization, meaning we're going to take away all the social programs that operate under the umbrella of the American government, and we're going to privatize everything. But the companies that then do those things are going to be our best friends, and we're all going to make a ton of money off of that, and use that money to continue to exert power over everybody. That's the difference. But USA is not there yet. That's just what Republicans are going for. We're sort of like, we're heading in that direction. Let's see here. Dirty Wrench. Do tariffs directly cause inflation? I think so. I don't know why. I don't know if you need the word directly there. Like, what's the difference between causing it directly and indirectly? But it does cause inflation. Millie Goose. What do you think about J.B. Pritzker? The name sounds familiar, but I can't remember it exactly. Gail. Americans haven't voted for years. I mean, yeah, our voter participation numbers are fucking pathetic. They peaked in the 2020 general election, 65%, which is fucking, again, pathetic. We can do better. And it's even worse in midterms and primaries. And so every time somebody complains about our politicians, I always want to be like, well, these are the people that we voted for, Did you vote in the primary? Did you vote in the midterm? Well, you fucking get what you vote for. Max Bodmer says, you are such a gaslighter. Scary part is you believe what I say. I'm not a gaslighter. I only tell truths on here. And if you don't like it, you can Google it and see if I'm telling the truth or not. And I believe that you will find that I am being accurate. Let's see here. Okay. Jacob Taylor, but haven't Democrats ran the economy for the last 12 out of 16 years? No, that's a Republican propaganda point that I have had to disprove time and time again over here. It is not, the presidency is not a dictatorship. And so the president is not able to perform all of their economic duties depending on who is in the House and in the Senate. President Obama delivered us a great economy over his 8 years. Trump destroyed it in 4 years. Biden resurrected it over his 4 years. And the voters rewarded him by voting in his opponents and the party that was responsible for destroying the economy in the first place, But saying that Democrats had control of the government for the last 12 of the 16 years is ignoring the fact that the House and the Senate were flipping back and forth, that the Supreme Court has been extremely conservative over the last 20 years. So yeah, I don't buy that argument for a hot second. Nonsense. Politics has become the science of division, so by definition, this live promotes divisions. Sure. Okay, nonsense. Yeah. You're completely full of nonsense. Let's see here. Nah, you consider yourself a libertarian to a point? No, I do not consider myself a libertarian. Not even a little bit. All right, scrolling back down to the bottom. There was that dude that said he voted for Trump and said that he was, what do you call it? Getting hate. And, I was really hoping that guy would tell me, why he voted for that way, and I could show him and how open-minded I am and full of radical empathy. Gail, Obama made diversity and war on cops. I don't know if he did do war on cops. Toy Collector 1997, resurrected, we have the highest cost of living we've ever had, dude. Yeah, why is that? Is that because of things that happened during the Biden administration, or is that because of monopolization? Is that because of mistakes that were happening during the Trump administration? When I say resurrected, I mean we have we brought inflation. The Biden administration, Bidenomics, brought inflation back down from 9% to 2.4%. We have record low unemployment, record high stock market, record low crime, record low violence. A lot of financial indicators were resurrected by the Biden administration. There is still work to do. He also brought down healthcare costs and he strengthened unions. There were a lot of things that Biden did to rescue the economy after the nightmare of the Trump administration. But costs is still a massive problem, and it is a problem mainly because of Republican politicians and the Republican ethos of allowing monopolization to happen, So, yeah, you can miss me with that shit if you like. Let's see here. All right, there we go. Scrolling back down to the bottom. Let's see here. J57, will he sell off some of our parks with a high mineral value, like Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota? Yeah, Trump doesn't give a shit about the environment. He's just going to try to bilk as much money out of it as possible. And, he told a room full of greenhouse gas emitters that if they gave him $1 billion, he would cut regulations for them. And so, that that offer is still on the table. If people give him money, he will cut regulations, which will allow them to, purchase our national park land and drill or mine or fucking do whatever, Nah. Do you think to a point our school system has become an indoctrination machine? I don't know. Like, saying that it really just depends on what political bent you are, If somebody wants to say that the education system is creating a generation of people who have been brainwashed into thinking that, you gotta work for a giant corporation and you're becoming slaves to the wage labor system, shit like that. Like, that's one argument. There's also the argument that higher education is indoctrinating our citizens into believing liberal things. I don't know how much I rate either of those things. When I see indoctrination, I'll tell you about it. But indoctrination is more like those schools that are trying to teach that, like, slavery was a good thing and that black people were better off under slavery and shit like that. Let's see here. Gail, so you excuse the left and blame the right. No, I mean, I'm fully clear-eyed about the problems on the left. I just think that the problems on the right outweigh them so much that it doesn't even seem productive to talk about the things that could be better on the left. Like, the things that we could be better on the left are, better politicians. But the platform of the Democratic Party is the superior platform. It is the platform that 70% of this country agrees with. And the platform of the Republican Party is a shitty platform. It's a bad platform. I don't know why people vote for Republicans when they have a giant laundry list of shitty things that they want to do, and the Democratic Party has a laundry list of great things that they want to do. But yeah, if we're trying to, like, compare the sins of the left and the right, like, I'll take the left every fucking day of the week, man. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't care if you have different opinions than me, but be a productive person. Don't just spam the comments with, with your pro-Trump nonsense. Alex Strong, 638, do you think we should drill into Yellowstone and utilize geothermal electricity? I mean, I think there's a lot of value in maintaining the majesty of our national parks. So I don't believe in destroying it for energy. I think that we're so close to not having to use fossil fuels ever again, which is another reason why I was so pissed about Trump winning, because there was so much progress happening under the Biden administration that is now going to be either slowed down, stopped, or reversed. And, we've got scientists at MIT creating nuclear fusion reactors that are going to be an unbelievable source of potentially limitless clean energy. For a while during the Biden administration, we were printing a nuclear power plant's worth of solar panels every day. Every day I'm reading articles about battery technology getting better and safer and cleaner. It's like we're so fucking close. Why do we need to destroy our national parks and monuments in order to feed our electricity needs, Now, that being said, we're in a precarious moment right now where just as we are making all of these incredible green energy gains, we also have blockchain technology and artificial intelligence that is just drinking up all of those gains that we have made. I hate Bitcoin and I fucking hate AI because not only do they, not do the thing that they're supposed to be doing, but also they are such a massive drain on our electric grid. This is problem number one. Like, it doesn't do anything, and it is removing electricity that we need for things. It's fucking bullshit, man. Anyways. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. Kendra, how do you feel about the class war that is happening today? Is it happening today? Sorry if I tease you for the way that you phrased that, Kendra, but I do think that is kind of a funny sentence. The rich have been waging a class war against the poor, working class, and middle class for a long, long time. They've just been really quiet about it, and we haven't noticed because it's been like a frog in boiling water, But I think that people are waking up to the fact that the rich people have been fucking us for a really long time and rigging the system against us and forcing us to live in shittier and shittier circumstances until we can't take it anymore. I support people recognizing who the true enemy is, and that is rich people and Republican politicians. I don't condone violence of any kind, but I think the more that people can wake up to the fact that these rich people are fucking us over, the more that they will potentially start voting for politicians who are saying who will do things about it, who will hold rich people accountable for the shitty things that they have done. and who will put regulations on these rich assholes to make them, not hurt us in the future and potentially tax them so that our, capitalist society can be more fair. Alex Strong 638. So you want us to not use fossil fuels, but don't want to use an unlimited natural green resource. You're acting like geothermal is only available at Yellowstone. Like, there are other things that we can do without destroying a national monument. Like, what is the point here? What are you trying to do here, my man? Like, what is the value? Are you just trying to score points? Are you just trying to own a lib? Well, then you can tell everybody that that you owned a lib today, all right? And then miss me with that shit. Let's see here. Where else is geothermal available? Anywhere that you can drill. You just drill deep enough and you get geothermal. Free to be Cree. What can we do as citizens before the next vote? Engagement is the thing. You got to support organizations that are there to help fight the worst excesses of this Republican administration. So organizations like Vote Save America, Run for Something. AOC seems like she's got her finger on the pulse of what we can all do going forward. If you live in a district that is currently being represented by an elected Republican, you can flood their phone lines and go to their office and make sure that your voice is heard. There are a lot of mechanisms to be involved that don't include waiting 2 years to vote. I think talking to people in real life, not online, talking to people in real life and correcting some, misinformation or disinformation that they might believe that either caused them to vote for Republican or not vote at all, I think that is a valuable thing to do as well. Let's see here. Alex Strong 638. Yellowstone is on a supervolcano, making it the perfect place for geothermal work. Why do you hate Yellowstone? Was your dad eaten by a bear or something? Like, let Yellowstone be Yellowstone. Like, why can't we have national parks? Why can't we have nice things? Why does everything got to be turned into a fucking electricity faucet when we have things like, solar panels and wind and offshore, and what's the one that collects wave energy? And we're also working on fucking nuclear fusion technologies, like, right there. Like, we could build small nuclear reactors. Like, that's a new technology that is available for us right now to help solve some of these problems. I would much rather get rid of AI and crypto than a majestic site of natural beauty that connects us to the earth, makes us feel human. Unbelievable, man. Let's see here. Would anything have tangibly happened under a Bernie Sanders president? Yeah, the presidency is an extremely powerful position, if only for being able to staff agencies. Like Bernie Sanders would have put what's her name? Lena Khan in charge of, what was she in charge of? The FEC? And she was doing such a fucking great job. Donald Trump put Scott Pruitt, who was a fucking oil lobbyist, in charge of the EPA. And Republicans confirmed him because they don't give a shit about the EPA. They don't care about keeping our air clean and our water clean. And they just care about making sure that their fucking oil executive donors get big-ass paychecks and they can donate to their fucking campaigns going forward, man. Yeah, Bernie Sanders would have put somebody in charge of the EPA that would have actually done the job. And, Biden was an extremely progressive president on this side of things. He nominated a lot of great progressive judges. He had people in charge of the Department of Labor, the NLRB, that was actually, pro-union for the first time aggressively pro-union for the first time in generations, So I don't even know where Bernie Sanders could have done. I mean, I'm sure Bernie Sanders could have done better in a lot of regards. I'm much more of a Bernie Democrat than I am a Biden Democrat, but credit where credit is due, man. Biden fucking did a great job as president. Alex Strong. Hard to get my point across in 2 sentences. Want to have me up and we will have a convo? No, I don't do debates, Alex. And it really seems like that's your whole point, is to try to prove me wrong about things. So yeah, no, that's not what I'm here for. Let's see here. A whole bunch of what looked like Japanese characters. Says I really needed to hear that right now. Thank you. Nice to imagine. I'm glad I could be here for you. God bless America 241 says, what do you think about the crazy pro-Palestinians saying death to America and burning the American flag? I mean, I get it. The American government has not been great to the people of Palestine. So yeah, I get people being angry. I don't really believe in policing people's speech the way that some people believe in policing people's speech. I don't think that anybody should do violence. And I don't believe that anybody should do, political violence or, things like that. But yeah, If somebody wants to be angry at America for the shit that America did to them, why the fuck not? Let's see here. Mrs. Toad says, explain the New Jersey drone hysteria. I mean, I think there's just like drones that nobody knows where they're coming from or what they're doing. Let's see here. NATO and the U.S. lied to Russia about moving eastward. Why? I don't believe that is the case. Let's see here. A whole bunch of characters says, people keep saying that Trump won't start wars, but that can't be the case, right? I mean, so Donald Trump has a quote-unquote isolationist view of foreign policy. He does not like to be America to be involved in wars. He thinks it makes him look bad. But he also he's not going to help our allies. He is going to help our, adversarial nations like North Korea and Russia. He's going to do whatever he wants to do and say that he's being isolationist, like he assassinated an Iranian general. He abandoned our allies in Syria. There was still global conflict that was caused by the Trump administration. Just because he didn't put boots on the ground anywhere, just because he didn't fund, like Ukraine because that war hadn't started yet, doesn't mean that there were no new wars or whatever, or there not going to be any new wars started under Trump administration. The thing that the Trump administration did was not staff our embassies, and that's how you maintain global peace, by exerting the soft power of diplomacy. But he dropped the ball there. He did a lot of things to make it so that regions that were in conflict continued to be in conflict. He moved the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, which was a slap in the face to the Palestinians. He left the Palestinians out of the Abraham Accord talks, which was a slap in the face to the Palestinians. There's plenty of global conflict during his first term. It's just he's not going to care about global peace. He's just going to care about money. So whatever country decides to bribe him the most, he's gonna help that country instead. Let's see here. All right. A whole bunch of characters says, but he's spoken so much explicitly about going after other people, countries. Yeah, he'll do tariffs on countries that he doesn't like, and anything that he can get away with, he will do. Vinny M. So you don't want to debate, you just want to lie. I don't lie. Everything that I'm saying is based on facts, and if you don't believe me, you can Google it. You have the same Google available to you as I do. But yeah, I don't believe in debates, because it's just two people yelling at each other and nobody comes away with a better understanding of the issues. Leo Werner, he's going to do whatever Elon wants. Completely agree with that. Mrs. Toad, help himself. Completely agree with that. He's easily bribed. Completely agree with that. Let's see here. Abelardo Andres says, time for changes, let the working class have more rights, who builds roads and city. Yeah, completely agree with that. Leo Werner, yes, such anger, we Americans have to give monies to the aggressors. Spaniard number 53, the right always running on feelings when it doesn't fit their narrative. Yeah, they're hypocrites, they're liars, the American people don't give a shit about that for some reason. I do. I don't know why not. God bless America, 241, what's the difference between working and middle class? I'm not sure if there's like some economic textbook out there that has a specific definition. I always view the difference between the working class and the middle class is the middle class is able to begin building wealth, like owning a home, having a stock portfolio, increasing your savings every year, whereas the working class is much more hand to mouth, I would say. That's how I define it. But again, there might be a much more technical definition out there that I am unaware of. Melissa, no, working class is anyone who works. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's part of that's somebody's definition as well. Let's see here. Are you dull? Working class is more manual labor and low wage jobs. Again, I guess it just depends on who you ask, What's the technical definition? I have no idea. Abelardo Andres, police should have intervened now? I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see here. Everybody's arguing about what is working class and what is not working class. Like, I don't know what value this semantic argument has. Some people in the middle class work, some people in the middle class don't work, so I don't know, somebody give that a Google. Spaniard number 53. I just don't understand how these poor red states always vote against their own benefits and well-being. Well, Spaniard, you have stumbled into one of my big hobby horses, which is talking about why people vote for Republicans and why people have a negative image of Democrats. Because if you look at the polling and if you look at the things that people actually vote for ballot referendum wise, the vast majority of Americans want the Democratic platform. But why don't they vote for Democrats? Well, I personally believe that the information environment has been weaponized against Democrats for a very long time. For a very long time. And you see it going all the way back to the 2000 election against W. Bush and Gore. There were way more negative articles around Gore than there were around W. Bush, which I think is weird because W. Bush was obviously less intelligent and experienced, but people wanted to get a beer with him, so I guess he gets to be president, you know? There were way more negative articles written in the mainstream media around Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump had a lot of lying and corruption and bankruptcies and sexual assault allegations and shit like that. You know, social media is heavily right-leaning. The people that own social media are wealthy people, and it serves them better to push narratives that help the Republican Party and hurt the Democratic Party. The right-wing media is anti-Democratic Party and pro-Republican Party. Centrist media tries to be unbiased, but that just means criticizing them equally as though one party isn't worse than the other. Progressive media is honest about the mistakes of the Democratic Party, so they're not just, you know, hyping up the Democratic Party the way that Fox News hypes up the Republican Party, you know? Democrats are getting it from fucking every angle. If you're a social media influencer on the right, you love Donald Trump and you can't say enough nice things about him. But if you're a social media influencer on the left, you don't have any cred unless you also throw stones at the Democratic Party. And you say things like, you know, there are left-wing influencers that I've seen videos of them lying about the Democrats losing elections on purpose and losing political fights on purpose and saying bullshit right-wing talking points like the left could have codified Roe so many times they just decided not to. You know, there are a lot of propaganda narratives out there that we have all bought into about how the Democratic Party is feckless and ineffective and, you know, insert whatever negative adjective that you like. And there's no scale, you know? Like, I believe that the sins of the Republican Party far outweigh the sins of the Democratic Party, but for some reason the Republican Party doesn't have that, you know, that taint on it that the Democratic Party has. And I'm tired of it. Like, I'm tired of the double standard. I think that double standard is the reason why, you know, people like Democratic policies, but for some reason just don't vote for Democratic politicians. You know, I was seeing these narratives all the time running up to the election, you know, like both sides are the same. She hasn't earned my vote. I don't want to be complicit in a corrupt system. The lesser of two evils is still evil. Like, all of that shit only helps Republicans and hurts Democrats. Where do those narratives come from? You know, like, we know that Tim Pool is one right-wing influencer that was being paid by Russia. Are there other influencers that are being paid by Russia or other right-wing billionaires to put out these narratives that's specifically designed to hurt Democrats and help Republican politicians, you know? Sinclair, now a right-wing organization, now owns almost all of the local television stations around the country. You know, they're not helping spread narratives that help the Democratic Party, or at least are honest with people about the difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, at least honest with people about the outcomes of Republican leadership versus Democratic leadership. You know, where is all this shit coming from? It seems intentional. It seems malicious to me, you know? And it seems, you know, we've all bought into this idea that Democrats need to be perfect, but Republicans can do whatever the fuck they want. And I am fighting against that narrative because it's bullshit, and I think that's part of the reason why Democrats lost the election this cycle. So, yeah, you're never going to hear me on here not giving Biden his dues for, you know, the Inflation Reduction Act, for bringing the Trump-caused inflation from 9% back down to 2.4%, for, you know, walking the picket line, first time a president's ever done that, canceling $170 billion worth of student debt, despite the fact that Republicans tried to stop him from doing that. Now, that is a narrative that I have heard people on the left talking about. Like, why didn't Biden cancel student debt? They're still saying that today, even though he canceled $170 billion worth of student debt. Why are you angry at Biden for not canceling all of it when the reason why he couldn't cancel all of it was because of Republicans and Republican judges? You know, it is a insidious pandemic, these narratives that are going around, and they're bullshit. And it is, you know, I think it's the reason why Democrats do poorly worse in elections than they should, is what I should say, is what I would say. Use a whole bunch of numbers. It's because Democrats portray themselves as holier than thou and infallible. Democratic politicians don't. I can't think of a single Democratic politician that has done that. Maybe there are people online that do that. You know, maybe there are nameless, faceless, internet existences that do that. But no politicians do that. What I often find people don't like about the left is what people online are saying, that they call themselves left wing, you know? And I am extremely suspicious of that, you know? Like, why are we ascribing to Democratic politicians what the worst version of a liberal is? And does that person even fucking exist? You know, is that person being paid by a rich person to be that way? You know, or even if they're not, even if that's just who they are, like, why are we blaming Harris for what internet user 56789 said? That to me is bullshit. Fucking HTX Legend says this is a recording. No. Let's see here. All right. Okie dokie. Abelardo Andres, they keep hoarding my futures and futures of my kid. Sally Mandor, I wonder who he voted for. Democrats up and down the ballot. Over on Twitch, opinion on how Trump is saying he's going to stop the wars. He's not gonna. He just says whatever he wants to, and then nobody ever holds him accountable for it. Let's see. All right. Devin, Demics act like they are morally righteous. Again, no Democratic politicians do. I don't know what you're talking about. All right. Mm-hmm. USMC vet says Inflation Reduction Act, Green New Deal. Yeah, I mean, I guess the difference between those two is that the Green New Deal didn't actually pass and the Inflation Reduction Act did pass. But I'd be down for a Green New Deal. You know, it seems pretty cool to me. Let's see here. 37 Sentinels, true. I don't even expect Republicans to even have personal agency. Yeah, you know, why aren't we yelling at them more? You know, people were getting mad at the Biden administration for not being able to pass the Build Back Better plan because Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin didn't get on board. Why weren't they mad at the 50 Republican senators who were filibustering that? Who were voting against Build Back Better? Why wasn't that part of their calculus? That's where my anger is first. Were Republicans helping with this? No? All right, well, Joe Manchin is next on my list, but first on my list is Republicans. Fucking HTX Legend, the other how will they know that's not me? I'm not really sure what you're getting at there. God Bless America 241, if Gore won in 2000, do you think the Democratic Party would have been the more conservative party? I don't think that at all. You know, I don't know what would make you think that. Abelardo Andre says our governments are lazy and corrupt. I would encourage you not to say things like that. That is exactly the kind of right-wing propaganda that I was talking about a second ago, Abelardo, because when you paint both parties with the same brush, or when you say just like the governments in general, you are giving cover for the worst actors. Like, Trump is a liar, and he is corrupt, and he is a felon. But if you say things like, everybody lies in the government, and they're all corrupt, and they're all cheaters, you know, it excuses Trump for it, because it makes it seem like he's just they're all the same, you know? But that's not the case. There are good politicians and bad politicians. There are better policies and worse policies, and we have a better country if we vote for better as opposed to worse. All right, let's see here. Leo Werner. Gore won, if not for George W.'s brother in Florida. That's where the corruption was acceptable. Then 9/11. I mean, there are a lot of things that are very fishy about the 2000 election, not the least of which being the Supreme Court decision that ended the recount. But yeah, you know, I don't know the value of litigating that now, but I will say that, you know, Republicans have been cheating for a long time. All right, Fire Dragon 12334. Did you want Trump or Kamala to win, and why? Kamala for 1,000 reasons. Like, you have to be more specific. Like, what is an issue? Tell me a specific issue, Fire Dragon, and I'll tell you why I think that Democrats would have been better on that issue than Republicans. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. Okay. Flow Bros says, obvious seed oil consumer. Your mom consumed my seed. Mrs. Toad. Limbo, Blue Collar Roots, White Collar Dreams by Alfred Lubrano. I haven't read that book, but it seems pretty cool. USMC vet, not a felon until sentencing by federal law. I don't know, maybe, sure, I don't care. He was convicted by a jury of his peers. He's a felon. He was also indicted 92 times. So, you know. Smellozoid the Great. Why did you say anything about politics and your bias? That takes away from your credibility. Because I'm not biased. Let's see here. Here's the bias would be if I was like, if, you know, Harris was like my aunt, and I was going to bat for her because we were related. But that's not the case. I support Democrats because they have better policies. That's not being biased. That's looking at the data, you know? Fire Dragon says, how do you think that she could run this country better than Trump? Can you give me a specific policy, Ben? Because I can give you 1,000 reasons. Abortion, environmental justice, climate change, the tax code, you know, labor relations, infrastructure, foreign relations. Like, there's so many reasons why I think Harris would have been a better president. All right, scrolling down to the bottom. Temp, how do you think the Project 2025 book bans will be implemented? And what of the shows based on the books? You know, I'm not 100% sure. That kind of falls under the umbrella of, you know, the states fighting against the federal government for what they can and can't do. You know, because Republicans have full control of the government, and because Donald Trump is good at steamrolling Republicans to doing whatever they want, and then if they don't do what they want, then he sicks his violent sycophants on them to send them death threats and shit like that. I don't really have a lot of faith that they're going to be able to stop some of his worst, you know, impulses. But in the states that already are under Republican control, I think we're going to be seeing more book bans, and I think there will probably be a move by Republicans to institute some sort of national book ban policy around what content can and cannot be sold in bookstores or in libraries and shit like that. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. That is speculation right there. USMC vet, no, until you have a sentence imposed and have appeals available, one is not a felon. Maybe get the facts. USMC vet, I don't give a shit about these logistical, about these semantic arguments, you know? People want to argue about whether or not Trump did a coup, whether or not he's an insurrectionist. I think the answer is yes. But then people will be like, well, technically to be an insurrectionist, you got to be convicted of this and this court, you know, blah, blah, blah. He did a coup. He did a coup. He's an insurrectionist. There wouldn't have been the coup if he didn't tell his people to do a coup. You know? Is there evidence that he was involved in that? Maybe, probably. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure it exists. I'm pretty sure he did it. Actually, but if you look at the Insurrection Act of 18... blah, 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 he did it. He did it. He's a convicted felon. He was convicted by a jury of his peers. He did it. You want to come at me with some fucking, you know, nitpicky, legalistic argument? Fine. You know, but the fact of the matter is, he is a felon. He did felonies. He would currently be in jail were it not for the fact that he won the presidency. All right, Flowbro. Would be no coup if Hunter laptop was actually reported? Sure, okay. Fuck, miss me with that right-wing bullshit. All right. Just Ramadan Nancom. Are you alt-right liberal centrist or some flavor of leftist? I am some flavor of leftist. I like some flavor of leftist. Okay, taxes, price on stuff, gas, food, groceries, etc. Asks Fire Dragon 12334. Okay, I can get into that. I can get into costs and shit like that. Okay, so the reason why we were suffering from inflated costs during the Biden administration is because of mistakes that happened during the Trump administration. And some of that is, purposeful, and some of it was incompetence. For example, he fucked up the COVID response so badly that supply chains got fucked and caused everything to be way more expensive. Gas became really inexpensive because nobody was driving their cars. So he made a deal with a bunch of oil producing countries to reduce production of oil in order to bring costs back up. That deal lasted for 2 years, which is the reason why gas prices went up so astronomically during the Biden administration. There was also such a thing as greedflation, which was corporations raising prices for no fucking reason just because they wanted to and because they could. The reason why they were able to do that is because of monopolization, which is a Republican ethos. The Republican Party is fine with monopolization happening. That is part of their platform, is deregulation, is taking, removing government influence from private industry. So monopolization has been able to happen for the past 20 or 30 years because of this Republican ethos. And so these corporations didn't have any legitimate competition, and they could raise prices on whatever the fuck they want. If you look at the breakdown of what companies own what, there's like 10 companies that own everything. So they were able to raise prices on fucking everything, The Biden administration, using democratic principles, was able to take inflation, again, caused by Trump, from 9% back down to 2.4% where it's supposed to be. The economy almost always does better under Democratic administrations than Republican administration. The stock market crashes more frequently under Republican administrations than Democratic administrations. And the Democratic platform is to make the tax code more fair by funding the government, by taxing the ultra wealthy, and alleviating the tax and financial burden on the poor and working class and middle class Americans. Additionally, the Democratic platform was to fund the IRS so they could go after rich tax cheats, which paid exponential benefits during the Biden administration. Now, the narrative that came out of that policy was that we were funding the IRS so that they could go after working class Americans and take even more money out of that, which is more evidence that the information landscape is weaponized against Democrats, and full of lies and misinformation that only hurts Democratic politicians. All of those things together say to me that a Democratic administration would have been better than a Trump administration. And we're not even talking about like the specific issues that we have with Trump as a corrupt individual. Like, he doesn't give a shit if people are dying on the streets as long as he gets 1 penny richer. That is the reason why. That is part of one of a billion reasons why I think Trump is going to be a shitty president and why Harris would have been better. Let's see here. They all regulators, alligators to me. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Abelardo Andres. Alrighty. Yeah, let's get back into this. LOL, Biden gets credits and makes people pay for years term. You're not making any sense, Abelardo, so you are out of here. All right. You have seatbelts because of regulations. They come up for a reason. Yeah, I believe in regulations. There are bad ones, but nobody's for bad regulations, It's just that Republicans are against good regulations. Riley, was it her ability to speak and answer questions coherently? I mean, that's part of the reason, like I said, there are a bajillion reasons why Harris and Democrats are better for the government than Republicans are. All right, we are at 1 hour and 15 right now. I'm going to do my outro, and then I'm going to do a few final questions. So put your final questions in the chat now. If there's anything that you want me to get to, then I will answer that after I do my outro. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody for contributing in the comments. Thank you for all the gifts. Thank you for all the likes and the shares. I appreciate any support that you can give me as a creator, be it the free kind, likes, shares. If you go to my page and you share my videos or like my videos or comment on my videos, all of that stuff helps me out a lot. There's also ways to support me financially if you are able to, but I'm not going to say that you have to because I understand that everybody is struggling these days under a cost of living crisis. But you can send gifts, you can join my Patreon, you can go to my website. I've got a store set up there with only 2 items, but they are bangers, so go check that out. I have stand-up dates coming up soon. My schedule is available on my website. My regular streaming schedule is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sometimes I augment that with a Friday because I really like doing these, and sometimes I start early because, again, I really like doing these. If you have any questions that I wasn't able to get to, my DMs are open, and you can also email me through my website. My website is best place to go if you're ever curious what Jared is up to or if you ever want to get in touch. JaredBerenstein.com is the website. All right, let's get to some final questions. And before I get to the final question, just want to my heartfelt plea that you all stay engaged, that you all continue to vote, that you all do let's all do the work to try to mitigate the damage of the next 4 years of the Trump administration. Support great organizations like Vote Save America and Run for Something. Support great politicians like AOC, like Elizabeth Warren. Support the younger generation of politicians like Maxwell Frost. Let's get the work done. And if we all do a little bit of work, then nobody has to do a lot of work. Nobody lets go of anybody's hand. All right, let's get to final questions. Final questions. Joe Mama, why are liberal men more effeminate on average than conservatives and moderates? That's not what your mom told me last night. Moonlight, can I ask a question? The answer is yes. Bob, a whole bunch of numbers, says, love your comedy, Jared. I apologize for my fellow Marine stupidity. It's fine. I believe in practicing radical empathy, So if people want to disagree with the things that I'm saying on here, that is completely fine. Let's see here. Temp, if you and Steve have a show in Milwaukee, I am there. Yeah, check back with my website. I'm doing a bunch of dates with Steve in California, Nevada, and Hawaii coming up. But we also have a tour that hits places in the Midwest as well. So definitely check that out. Xenocat, women like those kinds of men. Yeah, look at the fucking, I'm actually gonna, I'm not gonna say the joke that I was about to say because I feel like I could get in trouble for that. Let's see here. Reno, Nevada? No, we're gonna be in Vegas in like a month or so. Let's see here. Final questions. Let's see here. All right. Moonlight asked if you could ask a question. I said yes, and then never asked the question. All right. Over on Twitch, we got Fire Dragon. What about the wars? For example, say we got in conflict with other countries. Do you think that Kamala can handle the situation better than Trump? Absolutely, because Kamala Harris is a serious person who cares about people. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit. He wants money. He wants grift. He wants power. He is the reason why there is conflict right now. He gave leeway to authoritarian dictators like Vladimir Putin and Orban and Assad and Kim Jong-un. And that made them feel like they could do whatever they wanted. And, it weakened our alliances. He got us out of the Iran nuclear deal, which was going to keep Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. He left that deal, and now Iran is, days, weeks, hours away from getting a nuclear weapon? We don't even fucking know. They've accelerated the nuclear program after we dipped out of that deal. He left the Paris Climate Accord. He was severing our alliances in order to create global conflict and distrust. He didn't staff our embassies, so we weren't able to exert the soft power of diplomacy, which is how you stop wars from starting. He assassinated an Iranian general named Qasem Soleimani, which increased tensions in that area. He moved the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, which increased tensions with Palestine. He left Palestine out of the Abraham Accord talks, which increased tensions with Palestine. I put all of this shit on his plate. Yeah. If an adversarial nation tells Trump that they're gonna spend $1 billion at Mar-a-Lago, he will do whatever the fuck they want. Russia could promise to spend $1 billion at Mar-a-Lago, and he would give them Maine, if he was able to. He would sell your blood for a penny if he could. So yeah, I don't buy the fact that he's a dove for one fucking second, man. Let's see here. Anima, what's going on? Good to see you again. Yeah, I appreciate you being here, but the live is moments away from ending. But I do appreciate you coming on here and being a champion, Anima. Let's see here. Yeah, and also the fact that we're less secure because of Donald Trump, because he was leaking national security secrets from all the fucking secret documents that he was storing unsecurely at Mar-a-Lago in a room that had a Xerox machine in it. I wonder fucking why. You know, Jared Kushner got $2 billion from the Saudis. I wonder fucking why. You know, yeah. I don't trust him. I don't trust him as far as I can fucking throw him. And that includes on the world stage, you know? Everybody's fucking laughing at him. They know he's the most manipulable human being on the planet. If you just suck his dick and give him $1, he will let you do whatever the fuck you want, you know? So, yeah. Jorge, does your mom call you pretty? She calls me a very handsome man. Your mom calls me pretty. Susie, when are you back? I'll be back tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard Time. And also, potentially I'll do one on Friday as well, because I'm a glutton and I fucking love doing these, you know. So I will often augment my streaming schedule with a Friday as well. Carmine, do you love groceries? I do love groceries. Leah Werner, well, I am not his mom, but he is gorgeous. Oh, Leah, stop. You're going to make me blush over here. Let's see here. Pan Grobian, but I hear them constantly talking about trans people as a threat. Are you talking about Republicans or talking about trans people as a threat? Because, yeah, they do that, you know? All right. Thank you, everybody, again, for all the comments. I will see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have an excellent Wednesday, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Thank you for engaging with me over on Twitch, Fire Dragon and Charbla and Gob88. I hope that you guys will be followers and will come